Hello there, what is going on, everybody? We have some big news for Star Wars fans of card games and collectible card games and gaming in general. If you're a Star Wars fan, if you're familiar with Star Wars Unlimited or the old Decipher Star Wars game or Magic the Gathering or other Hearthstone or other card games, there is a new card game that was just announced that is being worked on in the Star Wars universe in partnership with 036 Studio and CCG Lab. They have just made a big announcement. We're going to talk about this today because it is a digital game that they're working on. Not a physical card game, but a digital game. And this has a lot of people raising some eyebrows. I'm going to talk about what we know and what this might mean for the future of Star Wars card gaming. If you guys are new here to the channel, we talk about a lot of tabletop games and a lot of Star Wars games and science fiction games and miniature wargaming and everything in between. I'd love to have you stick around. We're doing 12 days of Life Day all throughout this month, the month of December. 12 giveaways that are happening. If you want to have a chance to enter to win any of those, you just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my other videos. Let me know your thoughts on a new digital card game in the Star Wars universe. Let's go back. Star Wars made this post on social media. They said, we are excited to announce that we are working with 036 Studio and CCG Lab to develop a brand new digital collectible card game where players can battle across the Star Wars galaxy. Stay tuned for future updates. Now, I initially read this and was kind of excited. Not gonna lie, I like digital card games. Maybe I'm in the minority there, I'm not sure, but there are plenty of digital card games that have had a lot of success. I'm specifically talking about Hearthstone. Hearthstone's been a tremendously successful game, and I still play it to this day. I've also recently gotten back into games like Magic the Gathering through online platforms such as Magic the Gathering Arena, which, of course, I wish, Star Wars would make its way to Magic the Gathering, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Here's what I will say, though. If this venture doesn't succeed, I wonder if it opens the door towards a potential digital Star Wars collaboration with Wizards of the Coast, or a card game collaboration with them. I don't think that will happen, but maybe it could. There's been a lot of interesting things that have happened with digital card games and Disney IPs, specifically Marvel, how the Magic the Gathering sets that have just been announced with the new Marvel superheroes and all of the cards that have been spoiled from that. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Incredible Hulk, incredible. A lot of those cards are not going to be coming over to digital. The entire Marvel and also the Spider-Man sets can't come over to digital. So what they end up doing is they end up having to make an alternate set with different names and different artwork, but mechanically the same. You just kind of ripped the theme out and kind of pasted a different theme on. And that's how those sets came to the digital games like Magic the Gathering Online and Magic the Gathering Arena. I wonder if Star Wars ever did come to Magic the Gathering, if they'd have to do the same thing for online or digital rights because of things like this, where it looks like Lucasfilm wants to have separate licenses for a digital card game versus a physical card game. And okay, I can understand that. It is kind of a bummer if you play a game that kind of covers both worlds. Now, this could spell bad news for Star Wars Unlimited, which has been seeing a decent amount of success lately in a kind of a crowded market of CCGs. Star Wars Unlimited, pretty cool game. I definitely enjoyed it when it first came out, but this is kind of why I was excited about a digital game, and I really wished, and still wish, the Star Wars Unlimited could have been that digital game that we get. I wish we would have gotten a digital version of Star Wars Unlimited. Maybe that's what they're working on. Maybe they're going to work with Fantasy Flight and find a way to partner and kind of cross-platform Star Wars Unlimited into digital, but I don't think that's the case because I think they would have said Fantasy Flight Games if it was in there. I think they would have built on the hype that already is Star Wars Unlimited. What they looks like they're doing is going to be making an all-new game. Hence, they said brand new game. So it's not going to be Star Wars Unlimited, although I really wish that they would have done that. Wishful thinking, right? Because I very, very much enjoyed this game, but what happens to me personally with card games is that once collections start to grow and more sets come out, it becomes more and more of a chore to organize and to build new decks, and then another set comes out and I need to reorganize, and I've got to sort this guy in here, and now I have to sort by expansion and then power cost and all these other things. And that becomes, eventually it starts to become more work than it's fun, and digital games remove all of that work portion, and I do appreciate that. While you don't get the tangibility of being able to sit down at a table and play with your friends, well, I suppose you could if you had an iPad or something like that. The digital convenience factor really works for me as somebody who plays an awful lot of tabletop games, and I don't have the time to spend like a whole weekend reorganizing all of my cards and sorting everything out when a new set comes out. I just don't have that time anymore. So for me, I tend to prefer digital games, and I'm very interested in this one. But I think a lot of people are probably on the fence about these two studios that Star Wars is partnering with. I want to talk about 036 Studio, the first name that they announced. This is a relatively unknown studio. They're brand new. I couldn't find any games that they've ever made, so I think they're just starting out. As a matter of fact, they don't even have a website yet. 036studio.com is currently for sale. 20 grand and it's yours. At least as of the time of me recording this video. Anybody out there got 20 grand, want to potentially make a huge investment and buy this domain and then have, Lucasfilm or 036 Studio trying to buy it off of you? I don't know. Any of my viewers got 20 grand laying around? Maybe so, because miniatures games are expensive. If you can buy a new Warhammer army, maybe you can buy 036studio.com. And it is studio, not studios. They're probably going to go with a different website or something like that. I don't know, but I couldn't find very much on 036 Studio. So again, probably a brand new studio, probably in their infancy. Not much that I could dig up on them. But let's talk about CCG Lab, because CCG Lab at least has one game to their credit, although it's a game that's not currently running anymore. Back in 2023, CCG Lab launched DC Dual Force, a DC-based digital card game, and this one honestly had a lot of similarities to existing card games already. It functioned basically as a typical collectible card game with the bells and whistles that you would expect from a digital game, with kind of animated cards, a lot of flair. There was cosmetics and things like that you could also buy, which you tend to see in just about every digital card game platform. In this game, you had 2 leaders that would basically, and then you did have like 5 colors, but very, very similar to Magic the Gathering. It definitely drew some inspiration from that, and a little bit kind of from Commander, and but you would have 2 leaders, and those would sort of be, again, a similarity to how Star Wars Unlimited is played, where you have a leader and then a base, and that gives you kind of your color identities for your deck. Something kind of similar with that, where you had 2 leaders instead of a leader and a land. But you would also then have a cost, and over time you would, summon characters, and you almost had like a little bit of a game board. You only had certain slots for characters in this game. Now, if you haven't heard of DC Dual Force, you're probably in the majority, because this game only ran for 4 months. It ran from October 2023, and then I think it shut down in February 2024. It only ran for 4 months. Now, that is certainly cause for concern. But what I will say is, according to reports, CCG refunded every purchase that was made. They offered full refunds on everything, not just in the last month of the game, but during the entire lifespan of the game. So, that's good business practice to do, or I guess the better business practice to do would be to still stay in business. But at least, they made the best of a bad situation with how they handled the closing of this game. But it certainly calls into question, a company with a failed game and a company with no games. They're basically added 2 companies with no live or successful games under their belt. Does give a little bit of concern about a new Star Wars game that is being launched. So I'm definitely cautious about this announcement, but also I'm willing to give it a try, because a digital card game would be very easy for me to cover, be very easy for me to build new decks, and probably could get it both on PC and on my phone, which is a cool thing. So, again, I believe in second chances. Just because you have a failed game once doesn't mean you shouldn't keep trying. Look how many tabletop game designers had to go through multiple trial and errors before they hit their masterpiece. Look at Eric Lang, for example. I mean, goodness gracious, amazing games, right? Look at Fantasy Flight. How many games did they have before X-Wing came out? How many games did they have before Armada or Star Wars Legion came out? Again, not everybody strikes gold their first time. So even though, you know, you have a failed game under CCG, I'm still willing to check them out. And the thing is, if it doesn't go well, maybe they'll give another refund, right? Maybe. We'll see. Cautiously optimistic. I do think that, you know, it would have probably been better if you just went with Star Wars Unlimited and ported that over to digital. I would have loved that. But maybe this new game will be fun also. I will be curious if it does look like the DC game, if it has a similar hex grid or similar like limited unit placement, or if it's going to be like more like Marvel Snap. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I'll talk more about this as it comes out. But if this is something that you're interested in, maybe you're interested in just watching me play it a little bit before you spend any money on it. I can't blame you if that's the case. Let me know down in the comments section below. And you can also check the video description for some cool links. You can jump in our Discord, keep the discussion going there. If we got enough players, maybe we'll make some custom channels for this once this comes a reality. Hopefully it'll be in 2026. And, you know, keep the discussion going there. Check out Patreon if you want to help support the channel and all that other great stuff. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and may the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all. And always wash your socks.